I got to start this deep dive
Mm.
with a big, just thank you for joining me for another deep dive into this world of infectious diseases. It's really just so fascinating to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And today we're going to be tackling sulfonamides.
Okay.
These incredible drugs that have been real game changers in treating infections for maybe decades.
Right.
And our guide for this journey is going to be a set of lecture slides specifically focused on sulfonamides.
Sounds good.
So yeah, we're going to be covering everything from their history to how they work to their clinical uses.
That's pretty comprehensive.
So yeah, by the end of this deep dive, I'm hoping you'll be like a sulfonamide pro.
Mm.
You have a solid grasp on how these drugs work and their place in treating infections.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
So I guess to kick things off, let's take a trip down memory lane.
Sure.
Where did these sulfonamides even come from? What's the origin story?
Well, the story starts back in 1935
Okay, way back.
with a bit of a serendipitous discovery. There was a scientist named
Domet.
and he was experimenting with dyes,
Okay.
and he stumbled upon one called
Prontosil.
that actually showed antibacterial properties.
Whoa, a dye.
Yeah, it was kind of a happy accident.
That's crazy. So a dye fighting bacteria?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the real hero of the story was actually sulfanilamide,
Okay.
which is a metabolite of Prontosil.
Okay.
And this is really what opened the door to the development of all the modern sulfonamides that we use.
So sulfanilamide was like the hidden gem within Prontosil?
You could say that, yeah?
But wasn't there something kind of dramatic that happened shortly after this discovery?
Oh, yeah, you're thinking of the elixir sulfanilamide tragedy.
Oh, yeah.
Back in 1937.
37. Okay.
Yeah, there was a pharmacist who was trying to be innovative.
Okay.
And they decided to dissolve sulfanilamide in diethylene glycol,
Okay.
not realizing that it was super toxic.
Oh, no.
And tragically, this led to over 100 deaths.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it was a really, really sad situation.
Yeah, I mean, it really underscores the need for rigorous drug safety testing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully, this incident actually led to a really landmark change.
Nice.
It led to the passing of the FD&C Act of 1938,
Uh-huh.
which mandated safety testing for all new drugs before they could be marketed.
Wow.
So it was a pivotal moment in drug regulation.
Yeah, like a silver lining in a very dark cloud.
Exactly.
So how did we go from, this single sulfanilamide to this whole variety of sulfonamides that we have today?
Well, sulfonamide is actually like a generic term.
Okay.
It refers to a whole family of drugs that are all derived from this paraminobenzene sulfonamide.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
So they're all related, but they have their own unique characteristics.
Exactly. Over the years, scientists have developed different sulfonamide compounds,
Okay.
each with their own specific properties and uses.
I see.
And two commonly used ones today are sulfamethoxazole trimethoprim,
Okay.
often sold under brand names like Bactrim Septra or
Yeah.
Sulfetra, and then sulfadiazine.
Sulfadiazine. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
So we've got this family of sulfonamides, but how do they actually work their magic against bacteria? What's their secret weapon?
Well, their mechanism of action is really fascinating.
Okay.
So think about it, this bacteria, just like us, need folic acid to survive and thrive.
Makes sense.
But unlike us, they can't get it from their diet. They have to make it themselves.
Oh, so they're like little folic acid factories.
Exactly. And a key ingredient in this manufacturing process is para-aminobenzoic acid, or PABA for short.
Okay, PEVA, got it.
So PABA is essential for bacteria to make their folic acid.
Yeah.
Now, this is where the sulfonamides come in.
Okay, here we go. The heroes of the story.
Right. They're like structural analogs of PBAS.
Oh, so they're like imposters.
Exactly. They mimic PBAS shape,
Okay.
but with a crucial difference.
Interesting.
They actually block an enzyme called dihydropterit synthase.
Okay, now you're just using big words. Break that down for me.
Well, basically, this enzyme is essential for bacteria to produce folic acid.
Okay, so it's like they're throwing a wrench into the bacteria's folic acid assembly line.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And without folic acid, bacteria can't grow and multiply.
Yeah.
So the sulfonamides effectively starve them out, stopping the infection in its tracks.
Wow, that's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
I've also heard about trimethoprim being used with sulfamethoxazole. Why the tag team?
That's a great question. Trimethoprim is kind of like sulfamethoxazole's partner in crime.
Interesting, a dynamic duo.
Exactly. It inhibits another enzyme in the folic acid pathway.
Okay.
This one's called dihydrofolate reductase.
Okay.
So by targeting two different enzymes in the same pathway,
Cool.
This dynamic duo, they deliver like a double whammy to the bacteria,
Got it.
making them much more effective than either drug alone.
A 1-2 punch. Okay, so we know how they fight bacteria, but how do they actually move through the body? What's their journey like?
That brings us to pharmacokinetics.
Okay, one of my favorite topics.
Basically how drugs are absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and eliminated in the body.
Right.
And sulfonamides have unique characteristics in each of these phases.
Okay.
So let's take sulfamethoxazole trimethoprim, or TMPSMX, as an example.
Okay, TMPSMX, got it.
It's absorbed almost completely when taken orally,
Bye-bye.
boasting a bioavailability of 97%.
97%.
Yeah, that means almost all of the drug you take gets into your system.
That's impressive. What about sulfadiazine? How does it compare?
Sulfadiazine is even more readily absorbed,
Oh, wow.
with a bioavailability of 100%.
100%. Okay, so it's like a straight shot into the bloodstream?
Yeah, pretty much, but their journeys kind of diverge when we look at their half-life.
Okay, half-life, that's like how long the drug hangs around in the body, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So TMPSMX has a half-life of 6 to 13 hours in people with normal kidney function,
Okay.
while sulfadiazine hangs around a bit longer with a half-life of 17 hours.
Okay, so sulfadiazine has more staying power.
Yeah, you could say that.
What about distribution? Do they reach every nook and cranny of the body?
They do reach many places. Both TMPSMX and sulfadiazine distribute well into the lungs,
Okay.
prostate,
Okay.
cerebrospinal fluid, even bone.
Wow, they get around.
They do, but there are subtle differences. For instance, sulfadiazine doesn't penetrate the prostate as effectively as TMPSMX.
Interesting. So they have their, like, preferred destinations, I guess?
Yeah, kind of.
How does the body eventually get rid of these drugs?
That's where elimination comes in.
Oh.
TMPSMX is primarily eliminated by the kidneys,
Okay.
with about 20 to 85% of the drug exiting through urine.
Okay.
The liver also plays a role in metabolizing it.
Okay.
Sulfadiazine, on the other hand, relies more heavily on the kidneys for elimination, with about 60% exiting through urine.
Got it.
Yeah. And it's really important to remember that dosing needs to be adjusted for people with kidney issues
Look.
to prevent the drug from building up in the body.
Makes perfect sense. Before we move on to, like, their bacterial hit list,
Okay.
I think it's time for a little pop quiz to solidify what we've learned about their mechanism of action.
Oh, sounds great.
Are you ready to test your knowledge?
Bring it on.
Okay. All right. Here's the question. How do sulfonamides knock out those pesky bacteria?
Okay.
Is it by A, messing with their DNA replication, B, interfering with their protein synthesis, C, stopping them from building their cell walls, or D, blocking their ability to make folic acid?
Okay.
Take a moment to ponder.
Right.
We'll reveal the answer in just a bit.
I'm sure our listeners have got this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, time's up. Let's see if you crack the code. The correct answer is D.
D.
Sulfonamides work by blocking bacteria's ability to make folic acid,
Yeah.
that essential nutrient we were just talking about.
Right. They essentially mimic that crucial ingredient that bacteria need to produce folic acid, and it just throws a wrench into their whole operation.
It's like taking away their daily dose of vitamins.
Exactly.
So for those of you who answered D, give yourselves a pat on the back.
Mm.
You're well on your way to becoming sulfonamide experts. And for those who might have missed it, no worries. That's what this deep dive is all about. Learning together.
Exactly.
Now let's delve deeper into the world of these bacteria-busting sulfonamides and explore their bacterial hit list,
Okay.
their spectrum of activity. Who are they most effective against?
Well, TMPSMX, our dynamic duo,
Oh, yeah.
has quite a reputation for taking down some notorious bacterial bad guys. They're especially potent against Pneumocystis jirovecii,
Okay.
which is a tricky organism that can cause pneumonia in people with weakened immune systems.
They're like the guardians of the vulnerable, stepping up when it matters most.
I like
I like that. Who else falls prey to this powerful pair?
Well, they also excel against Salmonella and Shigella,
Oh, yeah.
those notorious gut-wrenching bacteria that can cause some pretty unpleasant gastrointestinal infections.
Yeah, those are not fun.
And they also target Vibrio, the culprit behind cholera, a serious diarrheal disease.
So they're keeping our guts safe and sound.
Yeah,
Any other bacteria that TMPSMX has a knack for tackling?
absolutely. They also go after Stenotrophomonas, Nocardia, and Listeria,
Well-
all of which can cause various infections, particularly in those with compromised immune systems.
Wow, they're a real force to be reckoned with, covering a lot of ground.
Yeah.
But how do they fare against some of the more common bacterial foes, like staph and strep?
That's where things get a little more nuanced.
Okay.
When it comes to staph, TMPSMX can be effective against methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, or MRSA for short.
MRSA.
But there's a catch. It's essential to check regional susceptibility patterns because resistance can vary depending on your location.
So location plays a role in their effectiveness.
That's interesting. And what about strep?
There's a bit of a myth surrounding TMPSMX and its activity against Streptococcus pyogenes,
Oh,
the bacteria behind strep throat.
strep throat, got it.
Some believe it's not active against this bug and therefore needs a beta-lactam partner when treating things like cellulitis.
Okay.
But this misconception actually stems from the lab.
Wait, how can the lab be misleading?
Well, it all boils down to the media used to grow strep pyogenes in the lab.
Okay.
Traditionally, this media contained thymidine, a substance that bacteria can use to bypass the folic acid pathway we discussed earlier.
Oh, interesting.
So when exposed to TMPSMX in this thymidine-rich environment, strep pyogenes seemed to shrug it off, giving a false impression of resistance.
So it's like they had a secret stash of vitamins to help them cheat the system.
Exactly. But when grown on media without thymidine, their true susceptibility to TMPSMX becomes evident.
Okay, so it's not about a lack of activity, it's an artifact of the testing environment.
Exactly.
That's a crucial distinction. So TMPSMX might be more potent against strep pyogenes than initially thought.
Yeah.
But what about other gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria? Are there any general trends?
Yes, indeed. TMPSMX generally shows good activity against many gram-negative bacteria, including E. coli, Klebsiella, and Enterobacter.
Okay.
They're also effective against some gram-positive bacteria, but their susceptibility patterns can be a bit more unpredictable.
Got it.
And resistance can be a factor.
Okay. So while these sulfonamides are effective against a wide range of bacteria, resistance is a concern, just like with any antibiotic.
Right.
How do bacteria manage to outsmart these drugs?
Well, bacteria are remarkably adaptable.
Yeah, they are.
And they can develop resistance through various mechanisms.
Okay.
One way is by changing their permeability.
Okay.
Essentially making it harder for the drug to penetrate their cell walls.
Like building a fortress to keep the enemy out. Clever little things, aren't they?
Indeed. Another tactic is to pump the drug out as quickly as it enters.
Okay.
Using what are called efflux pumps.
Efflux pumps?
Yeah, it's like having tiny bouncers at their cell doors constantly kicking the drug out.
So they're actively fighting back. Any other tricks up their microbial sleeves?
Oh, yes. They can even alter their target enzymes.
Okay.
The very ones that TMPSMX aims to block.
Right.
By changing the shape or structure of these enzymes, they can become less susceptible to the drug's effects.
It's a constant battle, then. An evolutionary arms race.
Precisely. And this ongoing struggle really emphasizes the importance of using antibiotics judiciously to help slow down the development of resistance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, while these drugs are powerful weapons in our fight against infections, they do come with potential side effects, right? What are some things to watch out for?
Yes, just like any medication, sulfonamides can have some adverse effects. But let's start with a fun mnemonic to help us remember the common ones.
Okay, I love mnemonics.
Think CASH.
CASH, okay, I like it. What does it stand for?
C stands for creatinine.
Creatinine, okay.
Remember how TMP can affect kidney function? It can inhibit the tubular secretion of creatinine, leading to a temporary increase in serum creatinine levels.
Okay, so it's more of a lab anomaly than a true reflection of kidney function.
Exactly. Now, A stands for anemia.
Anemia. Right.
Specifically, hemolytic anemia.
Hemolytic anemia, got it.
This is a more serious side effect, particularly for those with G6PD deficiency.
Okay.
A genetic condition that affects red blood cells.
Got it. What about S?
S stands for skin reactions, which are among the most common side effects. These can range from mild rashes and itching to more severe hypersensitivity reactions like Stevens-Johnson syndrome and toxic epidermal necrolysis.
So keeping an eye on any skin changes is crucial.
Absolutely. And finally, H stands for hyperkalemia.
Hyperkalemia, okay.
Again, linking back to TMP's impact on the kidneys, it can also lead to increased potassium levels in the blood.
Okay, so SCAT-H creatinine, anemia, skin reactions, and hyperkalemia. A handy way to remember those potential downsides. Are there any other notable adverse effects we should be aware of?
Yes. A couple more sulfonamides can cause gastrointestinal upset, such as nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea.
Got it.
And they're also known to cause photosensitivity reactions, making people more susceptible to sunburns.
So slather on that sunscreen if you're on sulfonamides. Anything else?
Sulfadiazine in particular has a couple of unique side effects to keep in mind. It can cause interstitial nephritis and inflammation of the kidneys. Or crystalluria, where crystals form in the urine, potentially leading to kidney stones.
Ouch, kidney stones. That doesn't sound fun at all.
Not at all. And it's also crucial to remember that sulfonamides are categorized as pregnancy category D.
Okay.
Meaning there are potential risks during pregnancy, especially in the first trimester and near term.
So caution is key when it comes to using these drugs during pregnancy.
Speaking of caution, are there any medications that might interact with sulfonamides?
Yes, there are a few key interactions to be aware of.
Okay.
For instance, TMP can interact with certain heart medications like dofetilide,
Okay.
increasing the risk of dangerous heart rhythms.
Got it.
It can also interact with phenytoin, a seizure medication, and warfarin, a blood thinner, potentially altering their effectiveness.
That's some critical information. So checking for potential drug interactions is always a smart move. Any other notable interactions?
TMP can also interact with digoxin, another heart medication.
Okay.
And SMX can interact with nephrotoxic agents, increasing the risk of kidney damage.
Okay.
Additionally, SMX can interact with aphanamine. Okay. A urinary tract antiseptic, potentially causing problems with crystal formation.
So a lot to be mindful of. But with careful monitoring and awareness of potential interactions, these side effects can often be managed. Now, putting it all together, what are the main clinical uses of sulfonamides? When do they really shine?
TMP-SMX is a true workhorse in the infectious disease world.
Yeah.
With a wide range of applications.
Okay.
It's a first-line agent for treating and preventing Pneumocystis jirovecii pneumonia, as well as for infections caused by Nocardia, Stenotrophomonas, multiphilia, and even Burkholderia cepacia.
So they're the go-to choice for those specific infections.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned earlier, they can also be used for MRSA infections.
Right.
But remembering to check local resistance patterns first.
Right. Location matters. What about sulfadiazine? Where does it fit in?
Sulfadiazine is primarily used for treating toxoplasmosis.
Okay.
A parasitic infection that can be particularly dangerous for people with weakened immune systems. Got it. So they each have their own niche in the infectious disease toolbox. It's truly remarkable how these drugs have been instrumental in fighting off these microscopic invaders. We've learned so much about their history, how they work their strengths and weaknesses, and their key roles in treating infections.
Indeed. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our ongoing quest to combat infectious diseases.
Man, that was quite a journey through the world of sulfonamides. We covered so much ground, from their accidental discovery to those intricate mechanisms of action and their impressive range of clinical uses. But before we wrap up, let's take a moment to recap those key takeaways.
Yeah, a good recap is always helpful, just to solidify those important points.
First and foremost, we learned that sulfonamides are a family of drugs that work by, cleverly disrupting bacteria's ability to make folic acid.
Exactly. It's all about that strategy of mimicking PABA to sabotage their folic acid production, essentially starving them of this, vital nutrient.
And they're not just one-trick ponies either. They're effective against a wide range of bacteria, from those causing pneumonia and urinary tract infections to, those responsible for skin infections, and even some pretty nasty gastrointestinal infections.
Right. Remember Team PSMX, our dynamic duo? They're the real stars of the show when it comes to treating those specific infections like Pneumocystis, Jirovecii, pneumonia, Nocardia infections, and Stenotrophomonas multiphilia infections.
Absolutely. But it's important to remember that while these drugs are incredibly valuable, they're not without their potential side effects. We talked about the CES, pneumonic creatinine, anemia, skin reactions, and hyperkalemia to help remember those, key adverse effects.
Right. It's so crucial to be mindful of those potential downsides and always, consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new medication, including sulfonamides.
Wise words. But overall, sulfonamides have proven to be, powerful allies in our fight against bacterial infections. Their discovery and development really marked a significant turning point in medicine.
For sure. They've saved countless lives and continue to play such a crucial role in treating a wide array of infections.
But as we face this, growing challenge of antimicrobial resistance, it makes you wonder, what does the future hold for these remarkable drugs? Will they continue to be effective against those ever-evolving bacteria? Or will we need to develop new strategies to stay ahead in this, microbial arms race? It's a question that researchers are grappling with, and the answers have significant implications for how we approach infectious diseases in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought, and it highlights the importance of, ongoing research and responsible antibiotic use.
Well, on that thought-provoking note, we've reached the end of our deep dive to the fascinating world of sulfonamides.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you and unraveling the mysteries of these amazing drugs.
I hope you found this journey as informative and engaging as I did. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this episode with anyone who might be interested in learning more about the world of infectious diseases. Be sure to tune in next time as we delve into another captivating corner of the microbial world. Until then, stay curious and keep those brains buzzing.